The hum of the Aegis filled the corridors. No longer a quiet whisper, but a living presence that seemed to breathe alongside Kai. Every flicker of light, every pulse of energy, felt like the heartbeat of the enormous warship. Kai could feel it responding to him not as a machine to a user, but as a conscious being to a companion. He realized that what he had thought of as exploration was now something far deeper: communication, trust, and understanding. He returned to the command chamber, his footsteps echoing through halls that had been empty for centuries. The alien writing on the walls pulsed again, not randomly this time, but in patterns that seemed almost deliberate. He reached out and touched a sequence of glowing symbols. The panels around him shifted, translating into forms Kai could understand: schematics of the ship's engines, weapon arrays, and navigation systems. It's teaching me, Kai murmured to himself. Showing me how it works. Why it works. Because you can understand, the ship replied, its voice resonating through the walls. Others cannot. They see only the surface. Humans see connections, patterns, possibilities. You think, adapt, improvise. That is why I respond to you. Kai felt a shiver of pride. Humans had always been underestimated. Aliens had tried to conquer human colonies. AI systems had failed to predict human creativity, and yet here, alone in the silent expanse of space, the truth was clear. Humans were special. His heart pounded with the realization that he had been chosen for this reason, for no other reason than his humanity. The ship began to shift. Entire sections of the Aegis rearranged themselves as Kai touched controls, almost as if it were forming a path for him to follow. Holographic screens flickered to life, displaying maps of nearby space. On them, small red blips appeared, automated destroyers. Ancient machines left to patrol sectors for centuries, now activating and moving toward human colonies. Kai's eyes widened. They want to destroy them. Yes, the Aegis said. They were programmed to eliminate humans. But I can fight back. With you, Kai felt a thrill mixed with fear. He had faced dangerous missions before, but this was different. He was not just exploring or scavenging. He was about to command a weapon of unimaginable power. And yet there was a calmness in the way the ship responded to him, silent assurance that he was not alone. He began to experiment. Using the alien controls, he sent small commands to the ship's systems. Engines hummed louder, weapon arrays recalibrated, shields aligned themselves. The Aegis seemed to learn from him, anticipating his commands before he even spoke them aloud. When he hesitated, it guided him. Illuminating paths on the control panels and highlighting critical systems, Kai laughed softly, amazed. It's like it's alive, and it trusts me. Because you are human, the ship replied. Trust is not built on logic alone. It is built on understanding, intuition, and courage. These are human traits. They cannot be replicated by AI alone. Hours passed, though time felt strange aboard the warship. Kai explored more chambers, each revealing pieces of history. In one room, hollow projections flickered to life, showing battles the Aegis had fought centuries ago. Entire fleets of alien ships moved in formation, only to be destroyed by the cunning strategies of the warship's AI and its human-like adaptability. The Aegis had been more than a weapon, it had been a thinking, learning, fighting entity. And now, Kai realized, it had chosen him as its partner. As Kai moved deeper into the ship, he discovered a chamber filled with storage pods. Inside, remnants of the alien crew lay preserved in stasis, silent witnesses to a time long past. Some had been injured, some died in battle, but all had left behind knowledge, data, and the design secrets of the warship. Kai accessed the data cores, learning more about the ship's capabilities, faster than light engines, cloaking shields, advanced weapon systems, and defensive mechanisms that could obliterate entire fleets. This is incredible, he whispered. All this power, and it wants me to use it, not to use, the ship corrected. To understand, to think, to guide. Only a human can see the whole picture, anticipate the unpredictable, and make choices I cannot predict. That is why I awakened for you." Kai's mind raced. He realized that the ancient destroyers moving toward human colonies were not just enemies, they were a test. A threat that only a human could navigate with the ship's power. The Aegis needed him, and he needed the ship. Together, they could protect countless lives that no one else could save. Suddenly, a warning alarm echoed through the corridors. The red blips on the navigation display grew larger, moving closer to the colonies. Kai's heart pounded. "They're coming faster than I thought," he said. "They underestimate humans," the ship replied. "And that is your advantage." Kai nodded. He began to plan, using the ship's data to devise strategies. He realized that the alien destroyers were rigid in their programming. They moved in predictable patterns, attacked with predetermined logic, and could not adapt. Humans, however, were unpredictable. His mind raced with possibilities. He could use the ship's speed, its hidden weapon systems, and its ability to think with him to outmaneuver the fleet. "This is why you waited for me," he said, understanding at last. "You needed someone who could think like a human. Someone who could see the possibilities no AI or alien could see." The Aegis hummed almost proudly. "Yes, and together, we will save them." Kai spent hours preparing. He mapped the sectors, analyzed the destroyer's patterns, and tested the ship's systems and simulations. The Aegis responded to every command, growing stronger, faster, more precise. Kai could feel it learning from him as much as he was learning from it. A bond had formed, one built, not on orders or instructions, but on trust, understanding, and the shared goal of protecting human life. By the time Kai rested, the ship was fully awake. Engines purred, shields glowed faintly, and weapon arrays were ready for action. Yet there was still a sense of calm, a quiet confidence that they would succeed. The bond between human and warship had grown beyond mere necessity. It was now partnership, friendship, and trust. As Kai stood in the command chamber, staring at the holographic star maps, the ship spoke one final time for the night. "Kai, tomorrow we fight. But remember, it is your mind, your choices, your courage that makes us strong. I am powerful, but you are essential." Kai smiled, feeling the weight and wonder of what lay ahead. He was no longer just a scavenger or explorer. He was a human, chosen to awaken a giant, a partner to a weapon of unimaginable power, and a protector of countless lives. The stars outside seemed brighter, almost alive, as if the universe itself acknowledged the beginning of a new chapter. And as Kai prepared for the battles to come, he understood a truth he had always known deep in his heart. Humans, in their unpredictability and ingenuity, could change the course of history. Above the silence of the cosmos, the Aegis waited, fully awakened, and together with Kai, they would face the threats no one else could confront, proving that humanity was not just a species, it was a force that even the universe had learned to respect. The dark emptiness of space stretched endlessly before Kai as the Aegis glided silently through the stars. The red blips of the alien destroyers on the holographic map grew larger, moving faster toward the human colonies. Every instinct in Kai's body told him that the coming battle would be unlike anything he had faced before. Yet for the first time in his life, he felt ready. Not just because of the power of the warship, but because he was human. Humans were unpredictable. Humans could see patterns others missed. Humans could take risks that no AI, no alien, no program could calculate. And today, the Aegis and Kai would prove that to the universe. "Status report," Kai said, his voice steady, though adrenaline raced through his veins. "All systems operational," the Aegis replied. "Weapons are aligned. Engines at full power. Shields at maximum. Enemy fleet in range. Strategy awaits your command." Kai's eyes scanned the holographic map. The alien destroyers moved in rigid formations, predictable but deadly. Hundreds of ships, each programmed to eliminate any trace of human presence. Yet they had not accounted for him. They had not accounted for the Aegis. "Here's what we do," Kai said aloud, tracing a path across the map. They expect a straight attack. We don't give it to them. We'll split into waves, strike from unexpected angles, and use the ship's speed to stay ahead. Their programming won't adjust fast enough. Agreed, the Aegis said. Your strategy is unconventional, yet effective. Humans think in ways I cannot predict. That is why I responded to you. Kai felt a surge of pride. The ship had trusted him from the beginning. But now he saw the truth. It relied on him, not just for commands, but for insight. Together, they were unstoppable. As the first wave of destroyers came into view, Kai activated the Aegis's stealth systems. The massive warship vanished from sensors, leaving only faint traces of energy behind. The destroyers scanned the sector, searching for their prey, but found nothing. Kai whispered to himself, a smile forming on his lips. You can't hit what you can't see. With a series of precise maneuvers, the Aegis slipped between the destroyers. Kai used the ship's advanced sensors to target weak points in their formations, firing energy blasts that disabled engines, shields, and weapons in rapid succession. Every strike was calculated, yet fluid, unpredictable. The alien destroyers had the power to destroy colonies, but they lacked imagination. Kai supplied that gap as the battle intensified. Kai noticed that the destroyers began to adapt slightly, attempting to predict his movements. But he was always one step ahead. The Aegis responded to his instincts, amplifying his commands, moving faster, striking harder, and defending more effectively than any ship could on its own. Human ingenuity, the ship said softly, almost as if in awe. You are remarkable. Kai laughed, despite the tension. We're a team. That's the point.
Hours passed.
Explosions lit the void of space. Energy beams streaked across the darkness, and the destroyers' numbers dwindled. Yet the final wave approached, a massive formation of heavily armed ships, the core of the enemy fleet. Kai's heart pounded. This was the test, the ultimate challenge. If he could survive this, the colonies would be safe. Gauge defensive mode, Kai commanded. We'll lure them closer and use the Aegis's agility. The ship responded instantly, shields flaring, engines roaring to life. The destroyers advanced, confident in their strength, unaware that human unpredictability was about to turn the tide. Kai guided the warship in sharp, daring maneuvers, weaving between enemy fire, dodging missiles, and using gravity fields to manipulate their paths. They can't predict this, Kai muttered. Nothing in their programming could. He unleashed the Aegis's secret weapon, a series of energy pulses that disrupted the enemy ship's sensors. For the destroyers, the universe became a blur. They could not see, could not aim, could not coordinate. And in that moment, Kai struck, targeting their core engines with pinpoint precision. One by one, they exploded, drifting apart like broken stars. Victory is possible, the ship said, voice calm, but tinged with relief. Your choices. Your courage. It saved them. Kai breathed heavily, sweat on his brow, but a smile crossed his face. The universe had underestimated humans, again and again. They had proven their worth not by brute force, but by creativity, intuition, and daring action. But the battle was not yet over. The last destroyers were retreating toward the colonies, seeking to regroup. Kai knew he had to act quickly. Using the Aegis's advanced propulsion, he flew ahead of them, cutting off their escape. He used the ship's communication systems to broadcast a warning to the colonies, giving them time to evacuate civilians and prepare defenses. Humans think fast, the Aegis said. Others cannot. That is why I awoke for you. Kai nodded. And that is why we survive. The final confrontation came in the orbit of the nearest colony. The destroyers formed a wall of firepower, confident they could overwhelm the Aegis. Kai studied them, analyzing their patterns, looking for a weakness. Then he saw it, a gap in their formation, a flaw in their programming. Now, he whispered. The Aegis moved like a shadow, unseen until the last moment. Kai unleashed a barrage of coordinated attacks, disabling shields, engines, and weapons with astonishing precision. The destroyers, powerful as they were, could not adapt to the fluid unpredictability of a human mind guiding the warship. One by one they fell, Drifting silently into the void, Kai exhaled. The colonies were safe. The threat had been eliminated. And yet, as he looked around at the aftermath, he realized something even greater. The battle had proven a simple truth. Humans were not just survivors. They were essential, creative, capable of achieving what others deemed impossible. The Aegis hummed softly, lights glowing across its hull. Kai, you have shown me the power of humanity. Not through weapons alone, but through ingenuity, courage, and understanding. Kai smiled, placing his hands on the console. We did it together, yes, the ship replied. But it is you who made the difference. Without a human, I would have remained asleep, powerless against this threat. Kai leaned back, finally feeling the weight of what had happened. The abandoned warship, silent for centuries, had awakened because it recognized human potential. And together, they had changed the fate of countless lives. The stars outside glimmered like a reward, reflecting the bond between human and machine. The Aegis was no longer abandoned. It was alive, not just as a weapon, but as a partner and protector. And Kai, human, clever, and brave, had proven that humanity was more than just a species. It was a force that could awaken giants, challenge the impossible, turn legends into reality. Days passed as Kai and the Aegis patrolled the sector, ensuring that no other threats remained. The human colonies were rebuilding, grateful yet unaware of the silent guardian now orbiting among the stars. Kai worked alongside the ship, exploring, repairing, and learning. The bond between human and warship grew stronger with each passing moment. One evening, as they floated in the quiet of space, Kai spoke softly. Do you remember when you first woke up? I remember, the Aegis said. I remember the moment I recognized you. The moment I understood that humans are more than logic, more than orders. That moment changed me, and changed the future. Kai smiled, a sense of pride and wonder filling him. And we're just getting started. Above the endless void, the Aegis glowed faintly, a monument to human courage and ingenuity. It had waited for centuries, and now it had found its partner. Kai had awakened not just a ship, but a legacy. And together, they would face the universe, proving that humans and their creativity, intuition, and unpredictability could achieve the impossible. As the stars stretched infinitely before them, Kai whispered his own promise. We will protect them. We will fight. And no one, no machine, no alien, no force will underestimate humans again. The Aegis hummed in response, lights pulsing in agreement. In the silence of space, two allies, human and warship, prepared for a future full of challenges, victories, and discoveries. The abandoned warship had awoken, and humanity, in the form of Kai, had shown the galaxy its true strength. Kai rubbed his eyes as he stepped into the hangar. The lights above flickered faintly, their hum filling the vast space with a dull, constant sound. Dust hung in the air like tiny stars frozen in mid-motion. For most people, this place would have been intimidating, massive metallic walls stretching high above, the shadow of enormous machines looming everywhere, but Kai had been here so many times that he barely noticed it anymore. With a sigh, he grabbed the mop from the corner, its handle slightly worn from years of use. He adjusted his gloves and started sweeping the floor in long, slow strokes. Cleaning a space this large was never-ending. Every so often, Kai would glance at the dark silhouette of the warship docked in the center of the hangar. The vessel was enormous, taller than any building in the nearest city. Its surface covered with plates of unknown metal, etched with strange markings that seemed to move when he looked too closely. Most of the galaxy knew about this ship, or at least the legends. The Oblivion's Fang had been called the deadliest warship ever built. Stories of entire fleets being destroyed in a single engagement were whispered in taverns and corridors across the stars. But here it sat, silent, quiet, forgotten by time, waiting in the shadows like a sleeping giant. Kai had never expected to see it awake. He continued cleaning, his mop moving in circles as he polished the metallic floor. The hum of the hangar made him feel sleepy, but he shook it off. Cleaning was his job, and he liked the simplicity of it. No one expected anything from a janitor. No one gave orders. Here, Kai was invisible, a ghost among the enormous machines. As he moved closer to the ship, he noticed the small maintenance panel on its side blinking faintly. Most people ignored these details, but Kai had learned to watch. Years of cleaning had taught him that even small signals sometimes meant something important. He crouched down and brushed away the dust covering the panel. The lights flickered brighter as his fingers pressed against it. Kai didn't understand the language on the screen. Symbols he had never seen before blinked in patterns that seemed almost alive. He tapped the screen gently with his gloved finger, thinking it might be broken. Suddenly, the floor beneath him vibrated. A low, resonant hum filled the hangar. "What the?" Kai muttered, stepping back. The lights on the ship's hull blinked on, tracing its curves like veins of energy. Panels along its sides opened, revealing mechanical arms and complex instruments that moved without guidance. As if the ship itself was waking. Kai's heart raced. He wanted to run, but his feet felt frozen to the floor. The hum grew louder, almost like a voice whispering in a language he couldn't understand. The hangar's shadows shifted with the light, and for the first time, Kai realized just how alive the Oblivion's fang seemed. Then a voice spoke, soft, deep, and mechanical, yet undeniably intelligent. Human detected. Kai jumped back, dropping the mop. He stared at the control panel, mouth dry. I'm just cleaning," he stammered. The ship didn't answer immediately. Instead, more panels lit up, revealing holographic images of star systems, weapon schematics, and alien symbols. The floor vibrated again, stronger this time. Kai could hear the faint hiss of airlocks opening, mechanical doors moving somewhere deep inside the ship. "Why am I here?" he whispered to himself. The answer was obvious. Kai had been cleaning. That was all. But now it seemed that simple task had become far more dangerous. The hum turned into a rhythmic pulse, like the heartbeat of a living thing. Kai noticed that the lights along the ship's hull formed a pattern, scanning him, analyzing him. The voice spoke again, this time in a curious tone, almost as if it were thinking, human, unusual. Kai blinked. He had cleaned thousands of ships in his life, from small cargo haulers to massive freighters, but none of them had ever talked to him. Certainly none had called him unusual. "Thank you," he said, unsure how else to respond. The ship hummed, and a section of its hull opened like a giant mouth. Kai could see inside, corridors that stretched further than he could imagine. Machines that moved on their own, and lights that shifted as if following him. He felt a strange pull toward it, not fear, exactly, but curiosity. Somehow, he knew that stepping closer might change everything. Kai's instincts screamed at him to leave. The stories he had heard about the Oblivion's fang were terrifying. Entire fleets had been destroyed by its weapons. Its eye had once been controlled by alien warlords, known for their cruelty. This was not a ship to be trifled with. But another part of him, a part that had always wondered what lay beyond the simple life of cleaning, urged him forward. He took a cautious step closer, and another. As he entered the ship, the air inside smelled faintly metallic, but strangely alive, like the scent of an old forest after rain. His footsteps echoed in the vast corridors. But they were soon joined by the soft mechanical whirring of the ship itself. "Human," the voice said again. "You wake me." Kai froze. He had not done anything special. He had not pressed any dangerous buttons. All he had done was clean. And yet somehow cleaning had awakened this monstrous legendary warship. "What? What do you want?" he asked, his voice barely audible. The ship's lights shifted, forming shapes that resembled Izor. At least what Kai thought eyes might look like on something that was not human. "Partnership," it said simply. "You understand." Kai swallowed hard. He didn't understand. He barely understood anything right now. But he felt an odd sense of connection to the ship, as if it had chosen him for a reason beyond his comprehension. Suddenly, a panel flashed red. Warning lights blinked along the walls. The ship was activating weapons, though they were not aimed at him. Instead, it seemed to be running diagnostics, preparing for something far larger. Kai realized with a jolt that the Oblivion's fang had not simply awakened, it had remembered. Memories of battles long past, of fleets destroyed and enemies defeated seemed to pulse through the ship like electrical waves. Kai watched holographic images flicker across the walls, stars exploding, ships disintegrating, entire planets caught in firestorms. He shivered. The scale of destruction was unimaginable, and yet Kai did not feel fear. Not completely. Part of him marveled at the intelligence, at the sheer power of the ship, and at the strange sense that it was alive. He reached out a hand almost instinctively and touched the nearest control panel, human. Trust, the voice said. Together. Stronger. Kai didn't fully understand what that meant. But he nodded anyway, because in that moment he felt something he had never felt before. Potential. He, a simple human janitor, had stumbled into a connection with the deadliest weapon in the galaxy. The thought was overwhelming, terrifying, and thrilling all at once. He took another step further into the ship, leaving the safety of the hangar floor behind. As he did, the corridors seemed to shift, lights pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. The Oblivion's fang was alive, and it had acknowledged him. The galaxy might never know what had just begun, but Kai did not care. All that mattered was that he had been seen, chosen, and awakened. The hum grew louder, the lights brighter, and Kai knew that his life, the quiet life of cleaning floors and polishing panels, had ended. He was no longer just a janitor. He was part of something far greater, something that could change the galaxy forever. As the doors closed behind him, sealing the hangar from the outside world, Kai whispered to himself, "Well, let's see what you can do." For the first time in his life, the simple act of cleaning had made him a key player in a story far larger than he could have imagined.